We're live. Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert, coming to you with another Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. Nikki, show us your tea. Yours is frozen.
Mine's blurred out a little, but it's
Yours
there.
is more. All right. Well, I have another amazing special guest today. Nikki Swoboda from the NTC Corporate is here today to discuss some of her amazing results. We've only been working together a very short time, but I wanted you guys to hear her story, find out about her business, find out about some of the challenges in her business after COVID, and then listen to her talk about what she's done to work around those challenges and how she's gotten to success, even early success. So welcome, Nikki.
Well, thank you so much, Chala. Thanks for having me, and
Oh, it's
and
my
really
pleasure.
thanks for working with me too. It's been such an incredible experience already.
I appreciate you.
As
You're really one of the go-getters. You're one of my go-getters, so it's a pleasure to do the work together.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. At NTC Corporate, I've been here about a year and a half, and I'm our director of marketing, and I work with client services, sales, implementation of new clients, that whole piece. And the fundamental thing that we do for companies is we do business development through education outreach programs, specifically in the K-12 sphere. So we work with the energy industry, with utilities, in the financial industry, talking about financial literacy and building that awareness and local connections. And we work with water, we work with STEM, we work in a lot of different industries that really are about providing good, positive things for the culture at large. So why we decided to go through education is that 45 years ago we were founded by a theater major, and he had success as an actor and thought, why don't we use this to really teach? And that makes sense, right? Theater is one of the original arts at the beginning of culture, and it was used didactically to teach people en masse through a storytelling setting. So this makes sense. Now, how it's grown over the years is that we have a whole suite of deliverables that we use to customize and deliver to schools and communities and territories of our clients. So I reached out to you when I met you at the WeBank conference down in
Mhm.
Atlanta in June.
Uh-huh.
Um,
That's right.
we It was so great. I had picked out my whole schedule. I used the WeBank app we love, and it just happened to be that I was with you back to back, and you weren't even
Mm,
listed on one of the things, and it happened. So you were I listened to your polish the pitch
yeah.
session that was truly standing room only. It was very competitive to get a seat up front. And then it was like very competitive to get on your clipboard to get that 10-minute coaching, that 15-minute coaching with you afterwards. Truly, when you put it down on the front of the stage, myself and like six other women, we truly like crawled around the front to sign up our names to sign up with you because it was so packed. We're like, people are going to get this. And how long the line got to polish your pitch. I mean, the line was so long that when you put down the clipboard, it was like, well, I didn't get in that line. I'm going to get in this one.
That's
So,
awesome.
and then my schedule right after that was about RFP. It was a roundtable that was talking
Right.
about RFPs.
Yeah.
And then you were at that too. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So in that one day, I got to listen to your polish the pitch, listen to your RFP roundtable, and then I did get one of those coveted spots to get some
You
coaching with
fought
you.
for you fought for those spots. That's hilarious. Oh my God.
Hands and knees.
I've never heard like the other side, like you never see that other side. I always look at it from my perspective, but I never heard of it from
Yeah.
your perspective. I think it's hilarious. Thank you for telling me. That's hilarious.
Absolutely. Well, I think, the thing with the polish your pitch speech that you had, because you gave so much of your time to help others and let us all kind of see the proof in the pudding, um, it was, I mean, just no doubt about it. You could see how you fix their pitch in real life. And it was like, bam, bam. bam,
Yeah.
next person. And, like I believe 12 women in a row, and you got through to all of them. And it was in, gosh,
We
and it was in every industry.
We tried. Yeah, you're right. It was very diverse. You're
Mhm.
so right. But thank you. So what I loved about meeting you was that you are so fresh to your role, and what
Yeah.
you're trying to do is you're trying to change a behemoth. Like it's
Mhm.
like you're trying to shift an ocean liner, and you
Mhm.
can't. It's not a speedboat. It's an ocean liner, and it comes with this legacy, and yet, my hat's off to them, to all your bosses, that they have so much trust in you, and willing to let you do as much of investing up front to figure out your
Mhm.
messaging. And you didn't even have to ask. You just were able to do that. And I don't mind telling you that I met with a lot of women that were in your position who did not have that ability to
Mm.
have that authority and that budget. So my hat's off both to your, management team, to your owners, and to you for having that, taking that ownership and going forward and doing that. So tell me, what was happening at the business that you wanted this kind of help?
Great, thank you. Well, basically, I took over this job in the dead of a pandemic, and the job is fundamentally based on gathering students together in a room to deliver a message on behalf of a client and to build and quantify behavior change. So every single piece of what the service is that we provide to clients, basically, got gutted on, March 20th of 2020,
Yeah.
right? And one of the reasons that I jumped at the opportunity to work here is that they never stopped. They had already been in product development for live streaming. They had already had a huge product suite of e-learning materials. They had already done these pieces, and so when I came in, I interviewed on January 6th, if you could believe that.
Wow.
Interviewed on January 6th, that had, spent, or my final interview was, spent 3 or 4 hours there. And I was like, did anybody tell y'all that there's a pandemic and every other education and theater company in the country is closed? Did any,
Right.
nobody told you. You just kept working. Amazing. They had their renewal, NTC's renewal is 95%. Their revenue is 95% renewal. So
Wow.
they had these long-standing relationships, and that, I mean, that's proof, right? Proof of
Yeah.
value is a long-standing relationship. So because they were able to move almost all of their clients over to just trust them and do live stream and continue to deliver their message and continue to deliver, the program on behalf of them, I was like, I want in. We keep
That's
moving here. We keep innovating. We know that, change is inevitable. So when I came into it, it was like, well, everybody had, you know, like just put their foot down and had figured out how to keep moving forward. But the only thing, and I think we've heard this across industries, the only thing that wasn't moving forward in the pandemic ever was really new sales, right? Everybody
Mhm.
was really tentative about spending money on unproven things. And I feel like that risk mitigation became the primary principle of when anybody was making a purchase or signing a contract.
Mm.
So when I came into things, a couple of things were in play. Number one, dead of the pandemic, and what we do is school, and that was going hybrid, remote, in person, back to
Mhm.
remote. It was
Mhm.
changing so much, and all of us were living it, that anybody that we talked to about a new program was like, I don't know. Let's just
Yeah.
see. Let's just see. And understandably so, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other piece was that, our founder had retired, and he had been the salesman. He's the visionary. He's quite an impressive man. But because he had always driven all the sales, truly his team around him had supported him but never driven it. And so it was just like, all right, we took away what we know for sure. We took away
Yeah.
the person who did this one specific thing, right? Which was new sales. He did a lot of things, of course, not to disparage any of his work. And then it was like, all right, well, and the world's different. The world fundamentally changed. So we went through, a year, and maybe I think we only had one new sale in 2021, one new client.
Wow. Wow.
And that is that's not healthy. Even if we did renew all of our clients again,
Yeah.
um, that's not the way. So I'm on the strategic planning committee as a senior director of one of the departments. And basically, we identified collectively new sales are an issue. We
Mm.
need to figure out how to fill the funnel. We need to figure out how to reach the decision makers. We kept wasting all of our time with people who would just get an inbox, ask for a meeting, and then that was that, right? We just weren't talking to the buyer groups directly. So you were always
Mhm.
trying to make a champion of the person you were talking to instead of being able to drive the conversation of who you were talking to, right?
Yeah.
So in our strategic planning group, we had brought over another group to say, a group in Minneapolis to say, what do you think we should do? They had some ideas. They didn't really gel. I didn't really believe in their ideas. I don't believe in cold calling anymore. I think that's dead. I think that, yeah, exactly. And I think that, relationships run the world. That's really it's how I feel. It's like the one line I know for sure in any business, in any industry. The world is run on relationships. So I really felt like I knew that marketing really had to lead the way, messaging and
Mm.
building relationships had to lead the way for new sales. And truly said, to strategic planning, this group, I don't like this group. I will become responsible for figuring out the next thing. It's not
Mm.
technically in my world right now, but I will become responsible. I will figure this out. And then I
Wow.
swear, Chala,
Good
I
for you.
literally was like, hey, universe, manifest something. I just put my neck out. It'd be very
I'm
easy.
ready.
Like, it
When the
would be
student
like how easy to set myself up for being removed. Being like, hey, she's new and she took responsibility for new revenue. She had no plan. So I just knew, we have new ownership, and our CEO was named in September. And I said at that time, I was like, we got to get certified. We got to lean into being women owned. I'm all about female empowerment. I'm all about female leaders and owners, and have just very inspired by working with women. And so I just said to her, I was like, can I go to the conference? I don't know. Can I just go scout it? I decided the week before to go.
Mm.
And then I went and huzzah, manifestation of a plan that really aligned with what my instincts were about
Mm.
marketing being the way, about relationship being the way. And
Yeah.
then, Chala, you've shared a lot of really strong um, techniques. I love that you have a template to how you approach things, because how
Mm.
can you repeat things consistently at scale if you don't have a specific way of doing them, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So we did the VIP program, and
Mhm.
I've so far I've done the first 3 hour session where we really kind of laid
Uh-huh.
out the groundwork, and then you gave me the assignment of the 10 research calls,
Mhm.
and that has been, and I've shared that with my team. I've saying like, we're all going to do these research calls, but I'm responsible for them. But the big thing about that is what industry, what product, we
Mm.
can't be that canon that you refer to. Right now we were the square of all things to all people without a really clean pathway forward, um,
Mm.
that you talk about in your different shapes of business, and we weren't being the
Mm.
canon. Like, niche people, niche offering, that we're just too far all over the place. And that has continued to explode in terms of like what our weaknesses is in sales.
Mm.
Even
Mhm.
on this research piece is that I said, well, let's choose three. Well, and one of them I couldn't get niche enough to get down to talk to anybody who had any power about anything, right?
Mm.
So in the research, I ended up changing one of the industries that we had initially decided that we were going to do, because there was no energy there, nothing was happening.
Yeah.
And I was talking to one client, or one I was talking to a client I have,
Mhm.
and I said, hey, we're just kind of like chit chatting as we do, women leader to woman leader. And I said, hey, I'm doing this project, do you have anybody you could refer to me?
Uh-huh.
And she said, oh, actually I do. I have a colleague that I know. She has a lot to say about it. They just did an RFP and didn't end up choosing anybody because they didn't like any of the proposals.
Wow.
Talk to her. She has a lot of opinions on it. And I was like,
Wow.
awesome, right? Isn't that wild?
That is amazing. And then
Yeah.
what happened?
So then I set up that call with her. I had my client connect the both of us. set up that call and did the spreadsheet, did not monologue too much, which I have now learned is an issue of mine. And pretty close to the vest in terms of how that first one. It was like, yes, no. Like it really kept to the clean 8 minutes. And then at the end when I said, is there if it's all right with you, could I get on your calendar next week and present to you some of the options that we could uh do for your company and for your organization to deal with some of these things. And she was like, yeah, all right. And so we did it.
Yes.
And then I had kind of prepped a little capabilities deck to like kind of be
Mhm,
smooth about it.
mhm.
And we ended up being asked to provide a proposal, kind of brainstormed in that conversation what she was looking for, what they were looking for, ended up sending us, what the RFP had been, and we turned it around in a week.
Woohoo!
So it was
And
really cool.
it's done, right? It's
It's
signed.
done. Contract
It's signed.
signed.
Contract
Kick
signed.
Yeah,
Multiple five
kick off
figures.
on Friday.
Multiple five figures. Awesome.
Mhm,
So one of the things that I want to tell you guys is Nikki did this on mostly on her own. The only part that she talked to me about that I gave her instructions to do was the research.
mhm,
And that's all. Like she didn't even have the benefit of me telling her how to structure the call, what to present, what to say, what not to say. She went all on her own and she's a rock star.
oh,
But what got her there was the what opened the door was the actual fact that she actually had to do this homework of calling 15 people to talk to them
mhm,
for 15 minutes each in specific industries. And the first thing she saw was that one of the industries was a dud. Now, how
mhm,
do we come up with these industries? Is we actually do a back of the envelope blue sky exercise where we score them because it's a gut kind of thing that we just kind of are guessing at those scores at the
mhm,
very first. That's your hypothesis. It was proven wrong. So you moved quickly on to the next one. And again, Nikki's very independent. She did it on her own. Most of my clients, we have with you as well, we have 15-minute check-ins, and then they're telling me, Chala, this is not working out, this part is not working out, we have to change that, or this question, this is not an actual pain point for them, I'm finding out something much bigger. So then we would change things on our own. You're the rock star, you just go and you do it on your own, and thank God it turned into a sale. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I am so glad it turned into a sale, but Chala, let us not forget my 15-minute check-in before that was me being like, "I can't get anyone."
Oh, right, yes.
Remember? I was like, I haven't done one call since I talked to you. I can't get scheduled." Brr, and you were like, "You're wasting time. Go." It's like, "Oh."
So that gentle push. So talk to us about that. A lot of people are so afraid to do this calling. A lot of people won't even sign on to the program because they're so
Mhm,
afraid to do the outreach. But yet it's like sales 101, right? If you don't talk to people who know people, how are you even going to get started? Especially at the high, decision maker level. Talk a little bit about that piece.
absolutely. Well, I think one of the things, as you said, I kinda came into a big behemoth ship moving, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things I've kinda come up across a lot is like, "Well, how do you know?" Asking my colleagues, "How do you know that's what they want? Like,
Yeah.
how do you know, like, what their path is and who's there?"
Yeah.
And, because it had always been driven by the same person for 45 years, it was
Yeah.
like, well, it was his relationships. And so then I was like, well, he can't give those to us. That's
Yeah.
the thing about relationships is that, especially in this world, sales marketing, your reputation is everything.
Yeah.
Everybody on the sales team right now has no reputation,
Right.
right? Our company has a good reputation and that's wonderful, but we don't own our relationships.
Hmm.
So, similarly with messaging, with how much the world has changed,
Yeah.
how can any of us be so egotistical to assume that we know what is most important everywhere when we know that our own world has changed?
Yeah.
Right? Everything we know is has changed. So I actually, I am a I'm a good student. I'm good with assignments. Like if
You
you
are.
one of the things that I liked about your program is that it was like, no, you have to do the research. That's part of it. Because if I'm being honest, I know nothing else would make me do the research. It has really
Oh, I
pushed
know.
myself out onto an edge.
Yeah.
Like, you always want to be like, well, I want to be your client. I don't want to feel needy. I want to feel turnkey. I don't want to ask anything of you. and so we can tell ourselves all these other things to keep us from doing the research of like, oh, that's not our business model. People choose us because we're easy.
Yeah.
Well, yes, and
Yeah.
people won't choose us if we don't get to them.
Yeah, so true. Oh my God. You've just named like 10 objections that I've gotten to not to do the research, 10, excuses
Yeah,
to do the research because it's so hard to do something new. It's change, like my favorite
it
saying is
is.
wet babies like change. Who likes change? Nobody.
Nobody. It's so true, and I think because we do all have the language now of, like, risk mitigation, of
Yeah.
risk assessment, of, seeing how the things have changed in terms of people who make larger item purchases, like a extensive 9-month education outreach program, because what we do, you can't go on a website, buy it, and then have it. The only way that we can deliver what you do is by making a relationship, learning what your goals are, and then innovatively meeting them and then letting you know the data over and over again. We have to start with being able to pick up the phone and talk and find parts to connect. And I think, you know, assuming someone's pain is not the same as hearing them share
Yeah,
their pain with you.
that is so true. Nikki, you've been amazing. So,
Thank you.
in closing, what advice do you have to give to people who are trying to do the same research, trying to decide whether they should work with me in this program? What's your advice?
Well, I think in terms of working with Chala, everyone should just do it, is how I strongly feel there. I think that, the fact that your niche is WeBank owned or WeBank certified companies, I think that you bring your whole self to a piece and that allows us fellow women leaders to bring our whole self. And I would be lying if I said that I didn't sometimes suppress how much I wanted to communicate or suppress how I show up or like, second guess different things about myself to show up in the industry. But what's really happening here is that who am I reaching out to? Other women who lead
Yeah.
because I know that because you've really empowered that in me and saying like, no, they're decision makers too.
Yeah.
And I think leaning into, I really loved how you are immersive in the marketing and the sales,
Yeah.
that the messaging and positioning really does confirm and allow the opportunity for how you can show up in a sales presentation to get to
Mhm.
capabilities, to
Yeah.
get to landing it. I think that is kind of like a very holistic approach to sales that a lot of us, we have no interest in picking up a phone call and doing cold calls and getting hung up on. A lot
Mhm.
of us are just that doesn't sound good. Well, we want to
Mhm.
build revenue, we want to develop business, we want to build our portfolios. That sounds great. But the methods that are out there on the internet and from, previous jobs and previous ways of doing things just don't align with our values that we bring to work, right? I will never think it sounds great to call 50 phone numbers and get hung up 48 times.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like my time. That
Don't
doesn't
do
sound
that.
like I won't, right?
Anybody
Um,
who's watching.
yeah, anybody. It's not a thing. You deserve better. So I think that just your very holistic approach to bringing like what you know for sure and move forward. And then I really, really I like your templated way of doing the
Mhm.
project. Like you said, you're like not 5, not 10, it's 15 calls. You got to get there. And if we don't get there, we can't say what we know.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because everybody in the whole world, we're used to everything being customized to ourselves now, right? Not you, Chala. You're like, no, this is the program. Jump and do it. And these are all the reasons why. And I mean, you're right. I'm seeing that. Like, you're
Yeah.
right. And in terms of getting the phone calls, I mean, this is really hard. I certainly, that is a harder piece, is like trying to imbue urgency in it, but not
Mhm. Yeah.
feel like a burden,
Yeah.
saying like, "Oh, can we talk this week? Oh, you
Yeah.
had to reschedule." Like I've been rescheduled so many times and I've only gotten through like half of my list. And just in my headspace to not say, you know what, I'm going to deprioritize this where I'm somebody's last priority and keep working on my list. Well, I do need to do the research so that my list is accurate, right? So it's just those mind games of just your mind, just having that growth mindset of like, you don't want to, if you do what you always do, you get what you always get, which has been
Yeah.
no new sales, right? Um, but prioritizing the work that you haven't proven will work yet. right, jumping. So, I mean, we already are having a far better 2022. I know 4 new clients in,
Awesome.
by
Woo!
thank you, by July, and that's a lot, because we'll have, our typical roster is about 30 clients total because of the size of the contract and the size of our company.
So it's a very big percentage. That is awesome, Nikki. That
Thank
is
you.
awesome. And thank you so much for your enthusiasm and for being a guest.
Of course. Thanks for asking.
All the best.
Thank you. Have a good one.